CalazCon is a show about war, obsession, colonialist occupation, and the many forms of violence those inflict. See the description for content warnings specific to this episode.
As like this dust cloud and like Tansy is firing, like, you could have been a great leader. You could have been a great leader, Tansy.
But if you want Cafe Noir to leave DFS, that's gonna cost you another drive clock.
Oh, which I don't have.
Worm is put in an offsite server that's powered off.
Pelter, like, looking out the window, and we, like, slowly hear, like, static. It's just something that's, like, a little bit incomprehensible, like, slowly fading in.
So let's cut back to Worm. 1 year later. And so we have established that 1 week later, Worm was in quarantine.
Yes.
Digital quarantine.
Reasonably so.
But cooperating. And I did love the idea that Worm was selling everybody out. But that wasn't necessarily what you said.
1 year out, just to, like, right out the gate, I am going to be spending my clocks to achieve my drive, which is gaining autonomy as a trusted asset of the DFS. Woo. Yay, I guess? It sucks. Like, I think Worm A readily cooperates. She, you know, in that investigation, she's very happy to participate in it and has, like, paper trails that, implicate she was just doing her duty as requested, which is, I think to the higher ups, like a bad sign, a bad sign. I think, like, a year out, Worm A or some variant of Worm A or something, maybe C, maybe AB, or maybe just A version 2 is, like, reassigned to a different squad. I think the fact that this betrayal happened was bad, but her readiness to participate and help in unpacking it is heartening to the higher-ups, and I think, like, there is some degree to which, like, this entire situation, would have been bad if it wasn't for this. I think, like, there is some degree, like, the Farm Upstate, I don't know what happens, like, if they collapse or whatever the fuck, but I think, like, this all, Worm somehow, just by virtue of, like, following orders and providing documentation and leaving a paper trail of, like, her commands in this part of it, ends up getting ahead anyway. Not even ahead, maybe just, like reassigned. Like, she's on a different squad now, still doing the same shit she was for TFU. I don't think, like, anything major has changed, except I think the sword of Damocles is a little bit higher. I think it's a little bit less, it's the string's a little thicker. They're a little more willing to trust her.
Is Worm now just as untrustworthy as a normal person? As a human?
No. I don't think, I think she's more trustworthy than the average person, right? Because she's not a person. Her purpose is to be not a human. And I think there is... She's less than a human, but I think Worm is more trustworthy than a human in the way that a hammer is more trustworthy than your hand. She's more trustworthy than a human by just virtue of rejecting that as a potential, as even something she's close to. There's a difference between the like inhumanity that Worm sought, that Worm A and Worm B have. Worm B was inhuman in a way that makes her something else. Worm A is inhuman in a way that makes her a weapon, and she's happy to be that. So I think she's just on a different squad doing the same shit. I think she's fine with it. I don't know if she knows if she should feel positive or negative. It's what she's built to do. She's a gun.
Tansy, 1 year later.
Yeah, so a year later, Tansy is still the CEO of the Rowe Corporation. She has really focused on kind of the aesthetic design of the weapons used in the war, and I don't think that her relationship with Cafe Noir has lasted up until this point. Yeah, I feel like they would have tried to make it work for like a minute, maybe like 6 months after everything went down with our squad. But ultimately, Tansy has never taken a moment for herself to heal from any of the trauma that she has been through. She is not a mentally well person. She has a lot of anger that is misdirected, and she's also really impulsive, right? She might be a year older, but she is still under 25. Her cerebral cortex has not fully formed. She's not mature enough, I don't think, to stay in a relationship with someone like Cafe. I think I would love for the breakup to have been like a peaceful, mutual thing, but I really don't think that it was, just because of who Tansy is. She has really deep attachment issues, and also now extreme trust issues after what happened with the Farm Upstate. I'm not gonna name any names verbally, but so I just don't see that relationship working out. I don't think Tansy is happy a year later. I think that she feels really empty inside, and all she's doing is kind of checking boxes in her day-to-day to just kind of get to the next day, because that's the only thing she knows how to do at this point. I feel like she's probably numbed herself a lot to the things that really bothered her before, the civilian casualties that happened during war. And all that. I mean, if you're selling weapons that are causing this, if you're designing weapons that are causing this, you have to detach from that. So yeah, I think that's what's up with Tansy.
Has Tansy memorialized her parents in any way?
That is a good question. Yeah, Tansy's kind of pet project that she is, she's not not many people know about this, I guess. She's been working with a programmer to develop AI of her parents that she can talk to. Yeah. And that's kind of like, that's how she ends her days, is she like talks to them.
I like this notion that Tansy was maybe the most socially balanced person of the TFU and has withdrawn and now only really talks and deals with computers. I didn't say it was happy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, now I understand. Okay.
Verbal, 1 year later. What are you doing?
So I think we're a week later, we saw Verbal and Helter like on the run, very disheveled. A year later, Helter and Verbal, I think, have begun operating out of some kind of base. There is like mobile lab technology that the two of them have been working on. Verbal is back to being like pristine, beautiful suits, is there to be like taking calls and making connections, is excited to share new research with politicians. I imagine he's sort of like moving into a kind of mix of CEO and lobbyist, because I'm trying to think of the most evil job I could imagine, and it's that. And yeah, he has been investing a lot of time into like bioweapon research, and working, I imagine, has Helter doing the brunt of the work, the actual work, the science of it all. And he is doing the like social side of things, securing funding, getting contracts, seeing investors, the same thing he was doing before, only now it's just like the two of them in this like less than ideal, like compared to the Farm Upstate's base, but I think it's like it's very like mobile, and like the lab can be like packed up and like turned into like a mobile suitcase or something like that. Like everything is like portable, ready to be moved at any moment. But I think it's clear that Verbal and Helter's priorities are like starting to really splinter in a big way.
How does that splintering look, Helter?
Helter's been working on this stuff for Verbal and things, but Helter's also been working on itself a lot. I think last time we saw Helter was less human than we'd saw Helter the time before, and I think that has only become more true. I think last time Helter had like most of their face had sort of like almost like they were wearing a helmet, but it wasn't a helmet. I think they still have a mouth, but I think their full face is like transformed at this point. I think most of their skin is transformed at this point. I think they're still humanoid. I think maybe they have like some like smaller arms that are like growing out of their sides, like similar to how their mech looks. Helter has become like less and less human and is doing that. And I think maybe you, Miff can tell me about this, but when you were talking about that, I think maybe I think this is probably a conversation that's already happened, but between Helter and like Verbal, Helter is gonna need to like go away.
Sure, yeah, no, I'd love to break up with you right now. That sounds so fun. 1 p.m. on a Monday.
Oh, no.
My thought was maybe we're on like a really big space station right now, where like there's like enough of it that's like in disrepair, or at least just like not watched over in any sort of way, that we've sort of set the lab up somewhere in there. And then like maybe you still have access to like the people who hang out on the space station, and like maybe it's a place where a lot of politicians go or something. But we've gotten to this place of like disrepair, and Helter, Verbal is aware that Helter is pretty much done with the stuff for Verbal. Do we want to like whatever like chemical weapon Verbal wants or feels like they need to like move forward with? Helter has started like working on it less and less and working on other stuff. And like I don't know how clear it is to Verbal that like Helter is like putting it off as like okay, this is the end of things, right? Like there's still a part of Helter that doesn't want that. And so like it's like Helter's been like working more on like these things that are like coming to Helter through this like somewhere between instinct and compulsion. how does the caterpillar know it needs to become a butterfly, right? Like, does the caterpillar know when it like builds its cocoon that it's going to become something else?
God, I'm so glad you're asking this question.
I think Helter does know, but how does Helter know what needs to be done? I think that's a lot less clear. And so I think like you like probably come into the lab and there's like some sort of mechanical cocoon being built.
Right. Is this? I was gonna say this is another one of your weird lab nests.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've established that's sort of what Helter's labs look like. So I don't know that Verbal would be especially like taken aback by this, given
no. But like
the history.
I think that the vibe is different though, right? Like I don't think this is like upsetting or like significantly different, but like it feels different.
Is it more mechanical?
Yes, I think it is more mechanical. I think it is more like, I think there's a level of like if you didn't know Helter, or like if like things have like moved towards like shrine sort of vibes, right? Where it's like
love it.
Things are like pulling towards the center. It's just drifted, right, to like something that's less recognizable.
I really love the idea as well that there is like a physical reaction as Verbal is getting closer to the heart of this shrine, that it's like nosebleed or like ear bleeding or something coming out the eyes, you know, like there's a physical like affect on their body. I
think like in the like editing of this, the like movie version, the like sound that like we heard with Helter in the earlier scene, and that would be like, there's something that's like compelling Helter. I think it probably comes from inside Helter, right? Like, it is what Helter is becoming. It like affects the world around Helter in a way that is different than how humans do.
Yeah, and I think Verbal is like going to get close enough. Are you cocooning, or you're like preparing to cocoon?
I'm preparing to cocoon. Yeah, I don't think like Helter. I think you walk in and Helter like sees you and is like, you try to get like. I think it takes a second for Helter to notice you, but like as you get a little closer and things start to like hurt, Helter like approaches you to like be slightly outside of that.
Yeah, and Verbal's like trying to like shake it off. You know what I mean? Like it's like flicking their head back and forth. I love the idea. I was thinking as well when you said this like disused space station, the idea that our like part of the lab is like completely hostile to other people. Like it's like, I don't know if it doesn't have atmosphere or something, but like there's something about the injection that you gave to Verbal and whatever you're going through that like anyone else stepping in here is just done for, you know what I mean? But the two of us are in our toxic workspace relationship. And yeah, I think as you get closer, I like the idea that we had this scene when we were dancing together. I think you like stood on Verbal's shoes. I like the idea that you're like much taller now, and I'm like reaching up to like touch your face that is like a foot or two above me, you know what I mean? And it's like just your mouth, right? Like that's, I really like this as well. Like I want to like have him like reach up to like stroke your cheek, and he smiles with those like big lanternfish teeth that Verbal has gained, and we just get these like the two mouths, like these two mouths, one desperately inhuman, one human, but the rest of the face is inhuman, you know? I
think Helter like glances over at the like cocoon and like glances back at Verbal.
I think Verbal's crying, just like maybe, I think if it's the thing that the effect was like blood coming out the eyes, like we're seeing that slowly water down and just become tears. And I think he says like, it's okay, it's your time, I know, we discussed this, what you've done, what you've made, it's so beautiful.
I think there's like a big like intake of air from Helter, and there's like I don't think Helter can cry anymore, but there's like a shaking to the form, right, of like remembering what it's like to cry, right? It just goes, I wish you could have come with me.
I tried. I really, you are the only person who makes me feel like there is something I can't do, and I mean that as the biggest compliment I can. In a world where it feels so easy to get what I want and take what I want and push people how they need to be pushed, and then there's a gap, and then there's you.
You're the only thing that makes me want to stay, but I can't. There will be part of you with me always.
Oh my god, wait. How do we feel about after you say that? I go from... I go from stroking your face to like thumb in mouth, and you just like cleave it off with your teeth.
Yeah. That's gotta be what happens.
And just like a look of absolute like beatification over Verbal's face, like just like religious pleasure.
I think Helter like is like holding your hand near to their face and like licks where the stump, and it like instantly cauterizes. There's acid in there now, I guess. And I think then Helter like leans forward and
More
like
breakup should be this hot. I'm just saying.
Helter leans forward and like places a kiss on Verbal's forehead, and then like points to the edge of the room, and there's like some canisters of something, and it's like, that's everything you'll need.
Can we make it so I have to seal the cocoon for you in some way?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah. So like Helter like turns and like holding Verbal's hand as like Verbal like trails behind him, pulls you into the like cocoon area as you get closer and closer, and as you like experience the effects of being near to it. Helter like climbs inside, turns to you. I don't know, what does it look like to like close this thing?
I'm wondering if I'm like pinching it between my like needle teeth, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Sewing it or something.
Yeah.
I love the idea of it being like tendons. Or well, we need to put a body content warning on this episode. The idea that like, yeah, it's like pre-marking it like you're doing leather work. So I'm like biting the holes in the thing and then sealing it up with like, this might be too far, but I love the idea of like literally like pulling open one of my arms or something and using muscles to like seal you in there.
Yeah, I'm here for it if everyone else
like,
is good with it.
it's like corset or like certain like piercing, like play piercing, where you're like then adding ribbons and it's just this like horrible. No, it's not horrible. It's like so beautiful. It's like beautiful lace work, but just like made of pulled apart muscle.
Yeah, it's great. And I think like as like Helter is sealed inside, that like effect like minimizes as it like condenses in all of it. It's being pressed into where Helter is, right? Helter is sealed inside a
Verbal like puts one hand like tenderly on the cocoon and then turns to leave, like grabs all the canisters. I think like one arm is completely useless at this point, like yeah, like grabs all the canisters under the other arm and then turns the like lab door seal, and he like hits some kind of like safety mechanic eject, and just like this whole wing of the space station just like floats off into space with Helter's cocoon at the center of it.
I got lost in that. Great job, both of you.
Thank you.
And now we move to 5 years later. Verbal. Who do you still talk to from the TFU days? Any of your contacts, whether or not they were in the TFU or not? Whether or not
I think
they were DFS or not?
Yeah, it's like anyone, honestly. I think Verbal would still... Maybe this is a good question. Verbal would still be trying to schmooze Tansy.
I was just about to say that, actually, because I was kind of thinking for my 5 years later, like, Tansy's view on Verbal has shifted again. And yeah, there is the possibility that they are speaking again and maybe even
Jesus
approaching
Christ.
something like a friendly relationship.
No.
Well, it's like, what I'm thinking is, you said you're building these AIs. You're building these AIs that will make finally your parents tell you they're proud of you. Verbal is so here to tell you he's proud of you. Like any fucking time you needed.
There we
Anytime.
go. There we go. There
He would have said like, he would have "I'm the captain now" meme, except it's "I'm your dad now." Like.
Wait, actually, can we discuss the potential for a new business venture that Tansy and Verbal have gotten into?
I mean, it's 5 years later.
All right. With Tansy's like exploration of like creating these AI versions of her parents and, you know, all of that stuff, eventually the AI like got to the point where it was like actually like it was a lot like her parents, and then she didn't like it anymore, right? So
Oh my god.
So what she realized was there is a market, because like this war is never ending, right? Like it just goes on and on and on. There is a market for people who are grieving to want to like interact with their loved ones, like after they've passed on. But like,
it's so fucked that this is a service that currently exists in our world. What we're describing is so dystopian, and it's a thing that is happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you can custom build your AI loved one that you want to, memorialize and have a continuing relationship with. So this is my business proposal for that Tansy and Verbal have gotten into. But I'm just throwing it out there. Is this the type of worst thing possible that Verbal would get involved with?
Yeah, sure. Like, would feed you money. Like, it's not the big project that he's been working on, but like, absolutely, if you needed an investor for what, in my mind, I'm calling the cat project.
God.
Just.
True.
Yeah. Like, I think I would love for there to have been like a series of like exchanges between us that is Verbal, like trying to explain to Tansy, like, I didn't stop believing in you, you just like were being held back by your attachment to your parents. You know what I mean? Like, you needed to understand that their disapproval was always going to be a limit on what you could achieve. And I don't think he would ever apologize for being like, I'm sorry I didn't tell you before we went in. You know what I mean? Like, he's the kind of prick who would like absolutely gaslight Tansy into coming to understand that was like, well, this was what was best for you, Tansy, you know?
Well, I think honestly what would make that work, if I could make a pitch, is to kind of go at it from the angle of like, your parents like fucked up Helter, and like I loved Helter, so like I had to do something about it.
Just like appealing to Tansy's trauma, like
exactly.
Oh yeah, that's so good.
Because like Tansy would relate to that and be able to understand.
It's like, Tansy, do you know what it's like to love someone and see someone else hurt them?
Yeah. So I feel like their fucked up friendship is restored through fucked up means.
Yeah, and it's also great because from Verbal's perspective, it's like, I just took my biggest competitor in the arms trade and convinced them to stop making weapons and start making.
Oh no, she didn't stop. Wait, let's back up because you're gonna have more customers for your AI afterlife service if you're also still making weapons that are killing people.
I see.
You gotta maximize your
Oh my
profit.
god!
I love that she learned from the best.
Vertical integration, motherfucker.
You're vertical integrating war
Oh my god! Can I pitch?
Pioneering new fields of awful.
It's the new Rowe bullet. When it kills someone, it then immediately emails their like remaining relatives. It takes like a blood sample, cross-references it with a database, and emails them.
God.
Like, sorry, your loved one has been killed by a Rowe weapon. Please find attached a 10% discount.
Oh my god.
It's insane to realize that like our episodes are airing and people are posting like, wow, I really am rooting for the two of you. They seem like great people, and like I really like their found family dynamic. And then we're over here recording this like, I'm gonna vertical integrate war trauma.
I'm so sorry. I feel like I have to clarify to the audience. Me, Valmina, I feel physically sick right now about this. But this is, Tansy was not like conceived of to be a good person. Like, she's a human. So yes, you will have moments of connection with her. And if you did, like, thank you. That as an artist, like, that's what I'm looking to do. I'm sorry. She's just that girl boss,
And they hate to see a girl boss winning.
I blame it all on feminism. Blame it all on feminism.
I don't know if that was where I was going with that, but
That's certainly a bold read of the situation.
Anybody else you still talk to from the DFS days?
Yeah. So
I'm
I have
mostly thinking
two,
about NPCs.
Yeah, I have two parts to my 5 years later that I would like to do. Part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is what is the project that Verbal and Helter had been working on and that is finally being rolled out. I think there's been this fracture within the DFS with one group of people going very heavily towards human experimentation. And effectively what Verbal has built is... Okay, because we were talking about the caterpillar and the butterfly, I think that's a really strong place for me to start trying to explain what I'm thinking of, which is that this idea that, like, oh, it's not that the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, right? It's that the caterpillar goes into a cocoon, liquefies, and then one of its organs sort of, like, grows into a new life form. Okay? That's my very vague understanding of what is really happening there. Bug scientists don't write to me. I don't care, and I'm in a band with a bug scientist, so I'll learn that that way. Anyway, so what I'm thinking is there are now there's like what Helter was doing was like essentially becoming a kaiju, and what Verbal is pitching is like, okay, we still take a pilot, we inject them with the goo, we turn them into a kaiju, but here's the key part. They don't have functioning key organ. I'm thinking heart is the most
definitely heart, definitely
symbolic
heart.
one for the relationship between. It's definitely heart, right? They don't have a functioning heart, and what instead is we then train and genetically modify pilots to be installed within the heart of the kaiju. So now you have these two life forms together working in symbiosis, one effectively working as an organ and pilot for the larger kaiju, which is kept in a state of like frozen, either kind of like a fucked up dialysis or, you know, needing mechanical or artificial organs to work when the pilot is not installed. But when you need to roll them out for war, the pilot gets in and becomes the organ that allows the kaiju to function as a whole being, and is doing like all the filtration, the blood pumping, like everything physically for the kaiju, whilst also like being in this like intense relationship psychically ?
I don't remember if I told you this, but when I named my vehicle manufacturer, I made the like Latin name for the thing that like the thing that turned Helter into this, and I did call it Calum Vermis Corcomendentis, which does mean sky worm that eats hearts.
Okay, beautiful.
oh my
Great.
god, that's
It all
poetry.
came together.
Holy shit.
How many times have we written down something idly on the character sheet and it's ended up being very...
That's role-playing games, baby. That's how they work.
50 feet of rope.
So yeah, kaijus that need human pilot / organ to function as weapon is the project that Verbal has been selling to the DFS for just vast sums of money. Like, Verbal got rich. Like, I spent my drive clocks. Verbal got so fucking rich. Creating a, like, fucked up dream of what he wishes Helter and him had been, only turned into a weapon of war.
There's gonna be some great AUs where that's just how the TFU was to begin with.
So that's part 1. Part 2, it's I like to imagine a scene, and Mo, I'd love if you want to jump in here. A scene of, it's dark, there's blackness, and then the bag is whipped off the head of one Bo Blue, the scientist who created Worm, and sitting across from her is Verbal Acquisition with a clipboard, her resume. He is looking like there's a really great artist I'm thinking of, it's on Instagram. What Did Roy Say is like an artist, makeup artist, who is doing this level of like wrongness, uncanny valley makeup, and I'd like to imagine that's sort of what Verbal looks like at this point, where you're like, that's not a human being, but it's not a human being, and at the same time he still retains these, like, when he grins he has these big like needle sharp teeth. Yeah, he is, you know. Oh, Bo, it is so nice to see you. It has been so many years since we worked together at Farm Upstate, before you were so rudely and just inappropriately demoted and sent to I'm seeing here the 86.
What do you want, Verbal?
Oh, I want to offer you an opportunity. How would you like to be rich? Okay, I have 2 positions opening up in my company, and if you can help me fill one of them, I'll give you the other one. How's that sound?
Keep talking.
Okay, so I'm in need of a chief scientist. Great benefits, substantial paycheck. I will let you take the research whatever way you want. 0 oversight. But I need a personal assistant.
Okay.
And then I think Verbal will maybe spins the chair. I like to imagine this is the kind of job interview where you're strapped to your chair or something.
Right.
Spins the chair, and Bo Blue turns to face just this massive pile of wreckage that is bits of the Goliath factory, some of the drones, a bit of maybe that antenna, the aerial we got. Just absolute rooms full of garbage that were once Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
If you can either get me Worm back or build me reverse engineer a Worm C or something between A and B, I'd make it worth your while.
So here's the trick. No problem. I can get you a worm. But I'm a coder. I'm not a scientist. And I'm really not interested in your little biohacking remote upload of people's consciousness thing. And I really don't want to have anything to do with kaijus. A, it's not my area of study, and B, it's totally gross. So how about I help you out and you let me go?
Bo, I want to say I really respect that you're being really honest with me. I do. And then Verbal pulls out a gun and shoots her in the head. And then calls out, bring in the next one.
What the... Oh my god!
Tansy.
Damn, you killed Worm's parents too, Verbal. Fuck. Or mom, I guess. Sorry.
I'm going for the full hat trick, you know?
Helter does not remember. It's been a long time since Helter talked to them, I think.
Sorry, Mo, what you were saying.
Tansy. It's 5 years later. You have a burgeoning business venture with Verbal going on. How does your life... Sorry, I had a question for you. It was a good question. When you hear about the new CalazCon being scheduled, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that question, because I feel like it all connects to what we established happens with Tansy and Verbal reconnecting, because I think that all started with time passing, and then Tansy realizing man, I really do regret she went into the DFS, she became a mech pilot, she killed some people, blew up some shit, and all of it was supposed to be for her to be so cool and awe-inspiring that she would inspire a character that would immortalize her girlfriend who had been killed. And she didn't do that. And Kat's still not here. And she went through, and her parents are gone, and her life is completely changed. She had, such a sweet friendship with Worm, who is not even... Worm is not the same Worm anymore. Like, all of this stuff is really weighing on her 5 years later. So yeah, she really regrets that she was not able to inspire a character in CalazCon after all. She's become like really bitter every time she sees the show. All it reminds her of is, you know, everything that she's lost, and her failure to make anything really like good come out of it, I guess. Yeah, she I think like her feeling all of this, like really missing Kat still after all of these years, regretting how she wasn't able to maintain her relationship with Cafe Noir. She really hasn't been able to make any like lasting romantic connections with anyone else either, not to mention friendships. So I think that really is what kind of got her and Verbal back into each other's orbit. Was really just that loneliness and that regret. And I think also just as we established, kind of like her AI, or her relationship with her AI versions of her parents, getting to the point where they did like emulate their actual selves, just kind of like really helped her realize like, hey, my parents were not good people. They hurt people that I cared about, that I worked with. They hurt me. It's kind of like she wants to help other people like rewrite their histories so that it's like a better, like her whole like AI company thing is like, she thinks it's like it's born out of a desire to help other people cope, right? Like she's like trying to give people closure from things that are hard to deal with. I don't think she really like, I think there's like a lot of criticism, like as you might see in our real world, about this like very similar thing that happens, or that is happening. Is that really okay to do with somebody's memory? It's not like, or like, you know, you're not really recreating the person and all of this stuff. Yeah, like all of those questions, I think like she just kind of dismisses because, yeah, at the end of the day, it's like she's just trying to help people, right? And this is what helps people. People don't want to be bummed out when they've already lost somebody. So, Ruby, if I could like pitch something to you, I think that Tansy has definitely tried to reach out to Worm over the years. And I don't know like how that would go, if you would want to like play that out with me in some way. But
yeah, I'd be fine with that. I don't know. It depends what about, but I'd be happy to play that out.
I mean, I think just about like, hey girl, let's be friends. Like just really basic like that. Yeah
like I think the depressing shit is that like A gets back to you and is like it just kind of, I don't even want to say baffle, you know, like when you, I'm trying to think of how to put this, you get a response that's functionally like, I'm sorry, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't have clearance.
But, like, right, like way more formal. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not at liberty to discuss current relationship status within or without the squad. And as like an autonomous AI, you know, as a semi-autonomous AI under the jurisdiction of the DFS, I currently have significant restrictions on my ability to fraternize outside of my squads and relevant personnel.
Tansy sends Worm a link to a CalazCon fanfic website because of like the time when they like, I forget exactly what happened, but we like did we like upload a bunch of fanfic to like overload the network as a distraction?
We were starting discourse on Twitter.
That's right. That's right.
That was our fucking cut loose.
Yeah, that was our cut loose.
The worst cut loose idea anyone has ever had. Yeah, let's relax by starting shit on Twitter.
Oh, these These little chaos demons. Okay, so so I think that's what Tansy's response is just to like send a link like that to like the worst fanfic, I think. Like just completely unhinged, and like I don't know, all of the characters have been like gender swapped, but like for no reason. It's not really a plot so much as like, you know, it's just like a really like spicy fanfic, I guess. Which I guess that's probably not the right thing to send to somebody at all in any context, but you know, it's Tansy. She's just trying to like recreate that fun like friendship that they had before, and doesn't know how to verbalize it. So that's all she does is like send the link.
Hey, Worm, do you put that right into the customer relationships management software for last date contacted?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like, Miff, what a good image.
Why?
I don't think you get an email back. I don't think, like, you functionally just emailed the, like sent a fanfic.net link to the, like, Nissan support AI on their website.
No!
Like, it's not gonna do anything.
Oh, no.
I think it's like, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Feels like a good place to end that.
Yeah.
Damn.
And
Your search, hey girl, did not match any documents.
Worm, 5 years later, how have you moved on?
I spoke to Austin on this one, and he helped me polish this out. It's not unheard of in the DFS, because it is a democracy, ostensibly, for AI like Worm to get human rights and be registered as official citizens. And I think she does. She gets human rights and is registered as an official citizen of the DFS and gets, you know, identification and, marked as a person and everything like that. But I think the reality is that it just is slightly more inconvenient for her as she is now. Like, she has when she's deployed on the ship, she has quarters, but the room sits empty except for like a monitor that she can use to talk to if somebody, tries to find her in her quarters. I don't think she's like, the irony here is just that, like, the most inhuman version of her got the title of human. Like, if that's the thing that's like I want to say here is just like, if like humanity, if the title of human is such like a fickle title that it can be like given or rescinded, then like when it's given to some, like it's simultaneously arbitrary, meaningless, and suffocating. Like, it can be given and taken on arbitrary categories, and this worm, by virtue of not wanting to even something approaching human, she didn't want to be something other than human, she wanted to be nothing like human, she's the one that's treated as it. And I think, like, she, and the tragedy is that she has human, no, it's not even that she's treated as it. She has human rights, she has a ID, she can legally drive. People bark orders at her and ask her to run the numbers on, specific spreadsheets. She doesn't sleep in her bed. Nobody treats her like a person, but legally, societally, she is. I think that is fucking miserable. And I don't think A even realizes that.
Does Worm spend any energy arguing against futility of giving AIs human rights?
No. What would she care? As far as she's concerned, it just made it easier for paperwork. She has an ID number to fill out on forms. I don't think she has the capacity for that sort of passion or opinion or energy anymore. She just doesn't... It's not that she doesn't care, it's that that would require having an opinion, and that's something she rescinded. if the title is something that can be so fickle as to be given and taken away based on adherence to arbitrary categories, she's going to adhere to those categories and those categories alone, and that's it.
Worm would not care, but does Ruby think Helter would be proud of where Worm ended up?
No, not in any way. This is a worm that lowered herself to... Helter wants to transcend humanity. This is a worm that is content to exist within it, but not as part. And I think, ironically, this is the most human worm in a way, you know? Even though she doesn't want to participate in humanity, I think that does make her complicit and shitty and passive and unappreciative in a way that is a very human complicity. And I think she just continues working for the DFS. She's just moved between squads, iterated occasionally, does her job and does it well.
And last but not least, 5 years later.
Yeah, this is something that I'd probably like some help with, because I think we don't have access to Helter anymore, right? Like, Helter has become something else. We don't get to, the camera does not get to see what that is, because the camera is coming from a human perspective. You can't become something unhuman and maintain connection to humanity, right? That's not how it works. If you're transcending humanity, you don't get to you don't get to be part of it anymore. I am sort of maybe considering I'll tell you what I was thinking about, and then I feel like I need to take it further. I know that I don't get to compel all of humanity to transcend, because I don't get Helter doesn't get to do that, doesn't get to compel humanity to transcend, but I think that's what Helter's I think that's kind of what the thing that Helter became is trying to do, as much as it can try to do anything, right? So it's there's part of me that wants it to be like a horror movie type thing, where it's you fly into the wrong cloud of space thing, and suddenly all of you don't want to be human anymore, you know? I had this thought in my head of the cave that transes your gender, which is not right either, but somewhere
Can I get the longitudinal latitude for that cave?
But that's sort of the vibe I want to go for, is this Helter has become the thing that I was really thinking of is the old gods in Bloodborne, where there are these individual unique organisms that are completely all different from each other and have inscrutable different goals and wants and stuff, where it feels like Helter is one of those now, where I don't know, I'm trying to decide what I want it to be. I was hoping to maybe get some thoughts from the group.
I'm just listening and kind of absorbing. The idea of an eldritch being kind of came to mind. In that way that you are inscrutable. I wonder, thing I like about eldritch horror is that these beings don't know about humanity, don't care about humanity, but they still affect humanity.
I'm definitely there. I feel I'm just trying to decide how big to go, and what part of it we see. I did have the thought of a Helter cult, right, where it's we found this weird space thing that moves, space whale, whatever, and we just follow it around, and I love the idea that being near Helter compels change now, but it doesn't necessarily compel change that you wouldn't have wanted deep down, right? So it's very much
it's just that extra
it's
push.
all those things that you have considered but never gone through with. It pulls you towards those things, and the idea of you go out on a mining expedition, and you see the space whale, and suddenly you get tattoos. The person you were with starts transitioning, and then the other person replaces their arm with a tentacle or something, right? It's just it's so hard as a human to remain a static thing. It's not a thing that I feel it's a fallacy to be I'm the same thing that I was a second ago, right? And so the idea of this this being that not only compels that in people, but speeds it up, right? I have a lot of ideas, and I don't have a moment that I want to show for the audience, I guess.
I like the idea of a feeling. Feel free to yank my chain and bring me back down to earth. One of the things I love about spirituality is that some people assume that everything about humanity has everything to do with chemical reaction, cause and effect. And I'm like, that's not what love is. That's not what, missing someone is. And there is a metaphysical dimension to life. And it's very easy to want to code that. It's very easy to want to photograph that. But it has kind of been part of the human condition to constantly yearn and strive for that. I like the idea that Helter becomes something that can be described better by poetry than by nouns.
Yes, I agree. That makes me want to write a poem.
Everyone step away from the mic for half an hour, write a poem about Helter, and then come back.
I don't know how to get across that impression of change, but I think what we see is Helter becomes his mech, right? That is the thing that Helter is completely now. I think it's a lot bigger though. It was already big, but I think it's could fuck up a planet big, right? This space slime thing that we see it move through space, and we see this on just a very different time scale. I think it's different, and so I think we just slowly see it gather a trail of ships following it and stuff. Helter has become this thing that compels change in people, and also if you're the right kind of person, that feels amazing, right? If you're the kind of person who needed that, that, and so I think Helter just this becomes this almost becomes a part of a civilization or a planet, where it's Helter has become this nexus for change and for people who are interested in change. And maybe eventually, in a long enough timeline, we move past 5 years, we move past 10 years, we move past 100 years, this fraction of humanity becomes something else. But I don't think we get to see that. I don't think at that point, I think we lose access to humanity again.
I love that you're almost describing some space will-o'-the-wisp mixed with ayahuasca.
Yeah, Helter's just Helter's steadfast desire to be something different has created a place where the world is different.
And not even the world.
Just this small...
Yeah, piece of the universe.
Yeah, I think that's everything we see from Helter. I don't think we I think it's just this long shot of this space Leviathan slowly gathering almost the little fish that swim around whales and stuff and eat the parasites off it and things. It's we just slowly see this civilization, this faction form up around Helter.
Does Helter remember anything from before?
Helter doesn't have thoughts in that way anymore. So I think there are parts... I think the way that Helter is, everything that Helter experienced and cared about and loved all became this thing, right? It's not so much as a memory as so much as if anything had been different, this thing that Helter became would have been different. And so it's genetics, right? Where it's remnants of Helter's life is what made this thing possible.
Helter is a fucking poem.
The ships that follow Helter is Helter have almost a narcotic pull over them? Do entire crews die enjoying this feeling, and do ships then end up...
Probably sometimes. I think it really depends on the person, because I think it is this thing that awakens things within people, right? I don't think it's a thing that creates something new in you, but if that's the kind of life how you wanted your life to end, I feel it's something that it probably could compel out of you. But I think that's probably more rare than it does. I don't know. It's pilgrimage, right? Where people who feel they need a change in their life. You have a bad breakup, instead of going into to study in the Arctic or live in a lighthouse, you go to the change whale, right? And then some people are oh cool, and they get a tattoo or whatever, get a piercing, and then go back to their lives. And some people are no, this is where I need to be forever, right?
Right. I need to be a guide for others so I can stay.
And maybe eventually there will be other the way that Bloodborne is, and there's other entities that have completely different intentions and stuff. Maybe exposure to Helter can pull that out of some people, but I think that's a thing that we don't see. So,
well, I actually want to, but you've set up a dialectic now. If Verbal doesn't get himself killed, he will live forever. I almost want to find out what Verbal's last moment is, but is it fair to say that we kind of know how Verbal's situation is going to end up because we have learned to know Verbal?
Right. Well, I think if we're coming back to this idea, and I think this is really interesting because it's such an inversion of, like our very first downtime training scene between Verbal and Helter was like this discussion of like you can't just take like the bad bits of humanity and then change your mind and say those are the good things, right? Was Verbal's pitch to Helter about like, well, if your idea of transcending humanity is just to like reverse the polarity, that means like fuck all. And now here at the end, we're describing Helter as this like non-coercive force for change, and Verbal is like the exact opposite. The most coercive force of change in the world. Like he is not interested in what other people want. He's interested in how other people will do what he wants. And the idea of like this person who's so bought into the worst parts of humanity in this way, in like self-service, being a immortal eldritch post-human, very like, I think something we've touched upon is like the charisma of demons as well. I think is like something that's like coming up here. It's a lot.
I like the idea that all of that will come up for Verbal, but because Verbal will be verbaling, we don't know that Verbal is going to get murdered, but we have a guess.
I don't know that you can. I don't know that you can murder Verbal. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay.
I think there's been a lot of like bodily self-repair stuff going on between Helter and Verbal, and I think if we went from like sewing up a cocoon with your own viscera and then just that growing back, no problem, you know what I mean, to like continue running a company.
Literally the last cataclysmic event to hit Hestal was CalazCon, and we actually see the seed of the next cataclysmic event.
His Verbal acquisition.
Come on, are we shocked?
I feel like I don't want to answer that question, but I love the idea that there's just foreshadowing.
I mean, one of the best ways to end a game is with just wanting to play a different game in the same setting.
Exactly.
With Verbal as the mega boss.
I've been thinking so much recently about the relationship between paperwork and bureaucracy, and a very literal interpretation of the phrase "the devil's in the details" when it comes to Verbal, which is just like, the problem is not something will come apart because you missed the smallest thing. It's that a person somewhere is writing a contract so evil and coercing you to sign it, and you will sign it without even your own consent. And that's capitalism. And then it will convince you that you cannot make positive change because you're complicit in an evil that you never consented to be a participant in.
And it's so seductive. It's so seductive. You agree? That's what we got, folks.
It kind of sucks that sometimes that's just being human.
Yeah.
That's what we got.
Makes a compelling argument for transcending humanity. Like
yes. Yeah.
Fucking did.
Yeah.
And don't ever let capitalism convince you that the complicity that you have been like subsumed into means you can't make positive change. Like, you are not guilty of the sins of capitalism, and you and all your friends can organize and do better. Like,
be better than
don't believe the
TFU,
lie.
you know?
Hell yeah.
Be better than us, for the love of God.
Exactly.
The important part is not that, like, of the devil is in the details, is not that, like, the devil is in the details. It's that there's a fucking devil.
Hey, have you seen Longlegs?
I love this idea that the TFU is a car crash. Don't be in car crashes.
Yeah. Thanks for falling in love with all of our characters. This was a cautionary tale.
Right? All right. And on that note, thank you very much, folks. Signing off for one last time, playing as Verbal Acquisition, we have...
It's me, Miff.
Playing as Helter Highwater.
Atlas.
Playing as Tansy Rue.
I've been Valmina May. I will continue being Valmina May.
And as Worm.
My name is Ruby Soleil Rain.
And as your GM, my name is Mo. Thank you so much for joining us. You all be well. Thank you so much for joining us. Go tell your own stories.
Bye.
All hail Calazar.
Fuck off.
All hail the TFU. Frankly, let's be real.
Thanks for listening to CalazCon. This episode was edited by ScienceBird. You can find them on Twitter as @Vetero. That's VETARO. Sound balancing for this episode was done by Christine Blight. You can reach her for voice acting at cvblight@gmail.com. The show's music is by Devin Nelson. You can find them on all social media at Devin Decibel. If you'd like to support CalazCon, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/CalazCon. Please tell your friends about the show too. Remember, all glory to Calazar.
All right. And I think that's it, folks. So, do you guys want to schedule our next session right now?
God, legitimately, I was like, wait.